Welcome everyone to the Game Disc Podcast, where every week we discuss a specific video game, brand new, retro, or anything in between, and figure out if it's worth putting on our top 100 games of all time. I'm your host, Simon Esty, and today I am joined by my co-host,
Esty.
And today we're reviewing the Game Awards, and if it's even a decent reward show, or if it's just a series of commercials. Then we're going to move on to our weekly game discussion about Bioshock. This game made a big splash when it released in 2007, but should it actually be stuck at the bottom of the sea? We will figure all that out, but first, Gab, how are you doing today?
I can't complain. We have a lovely winter day in Los Angeles. It was 78 today. It was sunny. I returned a pair of shoes and got a little bit of attitude from a retail associate, but other than that, it was great. What about you, Simon?
Nothing. No big complaints. My nose is doing better after my surgery, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I went and saw the new Godzilla movie, which was pretty cool. And now I'm excited to do this podcast. And I think the thing I am most excited about for this episode of the podcast is this is the first time on the Game Disc where both the host and co-host have German Shepherd puppies. And I think that's going to bring a good balance of energy. I think that's what this has been missing.
Yes, I think that we need a German Shepherd essentially in each corner to balance the energy, like you're saying. I, for some reason, thought you were going to say it's going to open us a whole new demographic of listeners that just want to listen to German Shepherd puppies in the background of their podcast, make them feel at home,
They're like, that episode was good, minus, there was no dog. And Noah's got his little Japanese fan, but that's not the same as a dog
I feel
that barks.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I some days would take a Japanese fan over my German Shepherd puppy. Love him. He would take a bullet for me, but my God, the teeth just never stop.
Yeah, well, at least yours would take a bullet for you. I think mine would probably just try to make friends with whoever shot me and be like, oh.
Say, yours would take a bullet for a treat, though.
Oh, yeah, it would.
110%. She'd be worth it.
Until she realized no more are coming. She's like, oh, no. What have I done?
Yeah, exactly. Ugh.
But we're not here to talk about our German Shepherds unless, again, people want us to. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see what the feedback is, and then we'll keep everybody posted on the German Shepherd Puppy Podcast. Releasing 2025.
The Pup Disc.
Disc.
We're going to be talking about the Game Awards, and
yes,
mostly we're going to be kind of almost less of talking about what actually happened and who won. And more kind of talking about it as its status as the premier award show. Because Gab, you are not huge into video games, but you are really big into film. And you do work in the film industry. And you have actually helped set up some of those big award shows, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think for the last during COVID, they obviously weren't happening, but I think I've been to about the last 4 years worth of award shows, and that's all of them: Emmys, SAGs, Oscars, Golden Globes. I mean, really, and then all of the other little ones too. So yes, I have been around award shows, and this one does seem interesting. I'm super curious though what your thoughts are on it, just being in this video game space, and this is also when you're talking Oscars, you're looking at an award show that's been around almost 100 years. This is a relatively new award show too, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it started in 2014, so I guess this would have been its 10th one.
Yeah.
If I'm mathing right. But kind of the weird thing about the Game Awards is that, and it's kind of had this complaints for since its inception, but it's only kind of gotten worse as it's gotten bigger, is that the Game Awards the awards seem to take a back seat to upcoming games. So basically the way it works is and it's actually done this year, it was really noticeable. I don't know how much of it you caught, but basically they've got they make a bigger deal out of whatever the next trailer for whatever new game announcement they're going to make, as
Mhm.
opposed to the award itself, to the point where at one point the host Jeff Keighley just kind of rattles through like 3 different categories, and they don't even
Ooh.
bring up like any sort of like representative, um or like basically the people who are being honored aren't actually
Mhm.
being honored. It's more of like a shout out, and that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because the video game industry, especially this year, like most kind of big tech companies, have had numerous layoffs. Meanwhile, video games have been selling insanely well, and they've been being received insanely well. So you've got these people putting in all this hard work. Corporations are being rewarded for it. Gamers are being rewarded for it. One of the best years in video games ever, and the people who are actually making them are losing their jobs. And on top of that, the one place where they're kind of supposed to be shown as like a thank you,
Yeah,
they're
celebrated.
they're literally being played off
Played
stage
off the
after about
stage.
after like 30 seconds, to the point where at one point during the game of the year, the director of the game of the winner, Baldur's Gate, which game of the year is, that's the big award, that is the best
Yeah,
game of the year.
yeah.
The
Like best
director,
picture. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The director is up there talking about a member of his team who worked on this game who passed away during the development of this game, and the music starts playing, like to do the wrap
No.
it up. And this is like, and it's just one of those things where it's like, really? But you can, so this guy can't spend 30 seconds talking about somebody who passed away, but you can spend 4 minutes on a new game that nobody's ever heard of. So I guess, and that's kind of all just like a big preamble, because the Game Awards is a huge deal for video game people. Like most people who are even somewhat interested in video games are going to watch it. But again, the awards are a backseat. So how do you split that with, like, from your perspective, what would you do? Because on the other hand, all those award shows like the Oscars have been losing viewership for years now. So what do you think is kind of that balance? Like, what do you think like the Oscars and the Emmys would need to do? Because the Game Awards gets more viewing than those. I don't have the exact numbers, but it does. And it only goes up, whereas the Emmys kind of goes down. And I know I've been talking for a while, so I'll let you talk, but I kind of just wanted to like, yeah, preamble before I toss it to you. Like, what's your take on it? Where do you think is that balance?
Well, yeah, because
Yeah,
it's super interesting because I was thinking like how like all the film award shows are like the opposite, right? Like all the film award shows I feel like are so almost like, can you cuss on this podcast?
oh yeah, we swear all the time.
So far up their own asses like that they're just like, we make cinema and this is why this person's the greatest and this person's the great. It's like it really is like it's and I feel like that is also why the award shows have started to lose viewership, is because it's no longer a celebration about like filmmaking or like the art of filmmaking, but it has become more about like the celebrities in the room. And
Yeah,
it's a little too like out of touch with like the everyday person, because it's all about like, oh, and we've got Meryl Streep over here. Meryl, like, oh my, here's a funny bit about Meryl Streep, everybody, because everybody knows her and loves her. And it just is a little too cheesy and a little bit too like it's become about the like I don't know, this like notion of like celebrity at the
well,
Oscars
it's
instead of like the actual like, because everybody loves when like the underdog wins, right? Like everybody loves like Parasite was this like, you know, foreign film, and everybody loves like seeing the underdog win, and everybody like the speeches that go viral are the like, you know, like wardrobe like person that's
yeah,
like, just follow your dreams.
or
Or
Will
Jennifer
Smith,
Coolidge.
or Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Yeah. No, I'm still not over that. Like just
Those
wild,
memes are still
wild.
good.
They-
But it's funny you bring that up, because it's almost like they have the opposite problem, where it's
yeah,
like
exactly.
the Game Awards is like, here's all the cool stuff,
Coming
and the
out
people who
now.
actually, yeah, and the people who make it are like left in the dirt. And then on the other hand, you've got, oh wow, look at these gods that have graced us with their presence. Thank you, DiCaprio, for coming outside of your skyscraper to
Well,
greet with
and
the common folk.
yeah, and I mean it's very like, what was it when they had Faye Dunaway, and I don't even know the other guys, name, but when they read the wrong card when they
Oh, I
read
do remember
Moonlight.
that.
Moonlight won Best Picture, and it was supposed to be La La Land, which I've got some thoughts on, but that's for again your other podcast.
The film one.
The film one to also be released in 2025, coming soon. But no, like like they usher out these actors sometimes that like I don't want to say aren't relevant because I'm sure as humans they're lovely, but just it doesn't you're not really sure who they are. It feels like you're appreciating someone for something that they did like 40 years ago, and it was like I understand if they created like Matrix, like they created tech for like the Matrix that we still use today. Like, yes, definitely should celebrate that. Like, you made a film that like is just your generic like buddy cop comedy. I
Yeah.
don't know if like 40 years later we need to like be like, and now they grace the stage with our presence, but so you're right. It is this weird. The Oscars are all about like tradition and like celebrating the celebrity which is dying, and but it's also like I said, like this is an award show that's been around 100 years, and the video game awards are by that standard relatively new, like,
Oh yeah.
and so there's still probably, I mean, I think that the best bet is finding the middle ground, like like just just celebrate like
Yeah.
the art, just celebrate the art, celebrate the storytelling, like celebrate the people that like created something out of nothing, and also just celebrate the people that enjoyed the games also. And I think if you speak to those two things, that like that's all you can do. And also like it's an award show. Like
Yeah.
like it can only be so much. Like don't try to be more or like than you are.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of part of the almost part of the problem too, is that they seem to be taking the wrong lessons, because every year this Game Awards gets a little bit bigger and bigger,
Mhm.
which means you get a little bit more I guess film celebrity endorsements. So just
Mhm.
at this year alone, Jordan Peele announced he's working with Hideo Kojima, who's a big video game director, to
Mhm.
work on a new game. Matthew McConaughey will be starring in a new sci-fi game. And then to actually read some of the awards, you had Anthony Mackie, Simu Liu, and Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
And the again, this kind of problem was that the three celebrities who presented awards, which Timothy Chalamet did Game of the Year, which I already thought was really weird.
That is so bizarre. I
And
mean,
their reasoning was, I guess, like years ago, Timothy Chalamet, before he was Timothy Chalamet, well, he was always Timothy Chalamet, but before he was well known,
yes.
did like a YouTube video or something where he showed how to like fix an Xbox 360 controller. And people this year found like this old video and they're like, holy shit, this is Timothy Chalamet. So when they brought him on stage, they did kind of use like his like YouTube handle, and it was like, yeah, isn't this funny? But it's still like, you brought him on because he's Timothy Chalamet. You even said
Yeah.
like, go see Wonka in theaters tomorrow or
I
whatever day
was
Wonka comes out. Like,
I was literally about like to ask. I was like, did they plug Wonka? Because
they
if they
did, of
did,
course they did.
oh my, okay, that is terrible. Because granted, like the Oscars and Emmys and all of it are cheesy, but like I don't like they're not. Okay. Maybe this is also the difference too, though, is that like the Oscars and Emmys and Golden Globes all revolve around, a lot of the times it's movies that are currently in theaters. So the more awards you're winning, then people are going to go see the movie that haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
So it's also kind of interesting too because it's like there's no plugs because the award show itself is like one giant
that
advertisement.
is the advertisement. Yeah,
Yeah, but like for the like video game awards, that's like not the case because the video games are already like. I mean, I guess yeah, maybe that is the difference. Is that if you're somebody that had never played, the game that won Best Game, maybe you go out and buy it now. But I mean, it doesn't really like
yeah.
what like the fact you're plugging Wonka, even of all the fucking movies, like that. I was just every time I see a damn billboard with
What is
Timothy
wrong with
Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet's Wonka?
What you
I'm kidding, by the
I'm
way.
no,
The
I know, but I'm just like, it's not that I'm taking personal offense to it, but at the same time, like, I just am like, nobody asked for this movie. Nobody wants this movie. I don't think I've heard a single person be like, you know what movie I'm super jazzed for? Wonka. That that's gonna be my shit. Like, it's
I
just crazy.
and Timothy Chalamet is, I think, like I don't know. I think he's like the funniest actor to me. I don't know why. There's just something so funny about him. Like I don't know if it's his
Uh,
name or if it's his face, but Kim showed me these TikToks that are like, why are Timothy Chalamet and Nancy from Stranger Things the same person? And they are identical, and that just makes the whole thing funnier. Like you take Timothy Chalamet's haircut and stick it on Nancy from Stranger Things, and it just looks like
oh
Timothy Chalamet.
my
Have you not
God, that
seen these?
I have literally like I don't think you understand also how little I know about Timothy Chalamet. Like I understand his career trajectory and I know what films he's been in, but I truly don't think I've seen any of them. Like I
I don't think
really
I have. I don't
don't.
think I have either.
And so I'm
Um,
like, have you like but just like think like you can think okay, like Leonardo DiCaprio or Margot Robbie or whatever. You can think of celebrities and like be like, "Oh, I know some people that are fans or whatever." But like have you ever met somebody that is a Timothy Chalamet fan? Like, do they exist? I am genuinely wondering because I truthfully feel like I've only heard people be like, he has an annoying and punchable face. But I also hear that he is not nice to people. So that
I,
could also
I
be where my emotions
no,
lie.
I really, I don't think that like, I don't know. I don't think Timothy Chalamet is a draw to people, but I don't know.
I feel
I
like
don't
we have
know.
gotten so far.
We have
Timothy Chalamet has hijacked the conversation, and that is
as
another
like
reason
he
why I
always
hate
does,
him.
but
Per
but
usual. Get
the
out of here,
reason
Tim.
the reason I brought up Timothy Chalamet was because again he did present Game of the Year, so he
Yeah.
a lot of people were like he had as much time as he wanted on that stage because he was Timothy Chalamet. But then when he actually awarded the Game of the Year,
Yeah.
the director wasn't able to honor this person who passed
Yeah.
away. So, but again, and we can kind of move on because we're kind of going in circles now. But what I kind of want to mention or at least bring up is, and you brought up a good point when you said that these award shows are their advertisements. You can honor
Mhm.
the people who made them, but at the end of the day, they're advertisements for the movies. And I think that does kind of differ from the Game Awards, where the Game Awards is more of like it's almost like it's less like the Emmys or Oscars and more like the Super Bowl. Like you want to see your
Yeah.
team win. Like you want to
Yeah.
see. I played Zelda and Baldur's Gate. I want to see Baldur's Gate win.
Mhm.
And you have like a personal ownership of it. I kind of want your opinion on like where do you think like that middle line is, because another kind of I'll just lay out kind of a couple of the problems that people bring up. So obviously, people, there's a lot of people who don't really care about the awards. They do just want to see the new thing, and that's why they tune
Mhm.
into the Game Awards, and that's why it's such like a huge you know
But
um
there's other things for that though, right? Like you have all
well,
these other things that
yes
like essentially
and
all these other
no.
cons and stuff that could do that.
So yes and yes and no. So part of the problem too is that kind of the big one, it used to be E3, where E3 was
Mhm.
every
Yeah.
summer and it was like a trade show that Microsoft and Sony and everybody would go to and they'd announce everything. But as just throughout the years, like that's kind of gone away and it was like pretty much totally killed by COVID. Um, but Jeff Keighley, because of his success in bringing the Game Awards, was able to kind of make his own thing in the summer. So it's almost like the Game Awards has been able to kind of create those type of like environments to do those announcements because it was one of those. So it's almost like
Hmm.
this weird chicken and the egg. But on top of that, it's part of the problem too. And this is, I think, one of the more valid things is, when you've got the people, when I don't know, when Anthony Mackie or whatever wins best actor and he goes on stage to give a speech, the man's job is to entertain. he
Mhm.
he knows how to talk to an audience. And some of them obviously can be pretentious, but generally they're okay, I think. The problem is the people who are accepting the Game Awards, they are not performers. They're not, they're programmers. They're people who learned how to code, or you know they're basically engineers.
Yeah.
And these are not people who can always talk to a large audience and who can be, a little cringy sometimes. So it's like one of the arguments that I think is somewhat valid is, do you give, like, how does that work? Does these developers want to be on this platform with all these eyes looking at them, and do audiences want to watch somebody who might be kind of, cringy? And where do you think kind of that line is too?
Uh, just AI, right? Or
Oh, that's what they should have done.
that's what they should have done. They should have just opened up Chat GPT and give me a rendering of an
Write me a
engineer
speech.
who is more attractive than normal, super charismatic, and then we would just overlay that. But no, I mean, but I think that they have to figure out like what it is then, like because I think that it is like different demographics, right? Like if you're somebody who is looking for like I keep thinking of like what is it? Is it the Disney Con thing, like D20.
D23.
Yeah, D23. I wanted to say D3, but then I was like, no, that's not it. Just because you said E3. So no, D23. Because that speaks to very like that is one specific company. Anyone that's a Disney fan would go to that. But if you're a film fan, you might go to that, and you might go to like a CinemaCon or whatever in Vegas. And so like you have a couple of different demographics, I guess. And so I think it's kind of like we have to figure out what you want because for me, like I'm thinking of like the Oscars, there's writers, I mean the best picture director was for, Parasite. Like he is obviously not like
Yeah.
he's now thrown into the Oscars. I mean, he's like in the Korean film industry, but this is a completely different language. Like I mean, it is
Oh, and it's
it
obviously,
isn't.
worldwide. There's a
Yeah,
big
and
difference
it's
between a
international
Korean awards show and the Oscars.
and the Oscars. And so, and you have, best producer and you have, like all of these other best writer, like these kind of not in front of the camera jobs. And sometimes they are really awkward. And I think that sometimes those are the best speeches that come out of it because they're so heartfelt and they're so sweet. Um, so I think that if you want an award show like that, because that's what I like watching. Like I don't care to see, yeah, like Meryl Streep win her ninth Oscar. Like it's not
Yeah.
that's not fun. Like what's fun is seeing people that like their dream has become a reality, and I think that that's what's interesting to watch. That's what I like to watch. So at
Yeah.
that point, it's like I think if you're going to lean into like we are here to celebrate the people that made the video games this year, lean into that. If you want to just be this like ad kind of like revenue generating show, then it is what it is. It's
Yeah.
like it is what it is if that is what they're the direction that they're going with it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I do think that they kind of need to almost pick a lane.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Like
I
definitely pick a
also
lane.
I also agree with kind of what you said about like the kind of awkward ones being the best. One of, I think, probably the best. So the game that won Game of the Year, it was pretty obvious it was going to win. Nobody was
Hmm.
surprised. But one of the game that actually won Best Direction was
Hmm.
Alan Wake 2.
Hmm.
And that director Sam Lake is very charismatic. He's just a really kind of goofball guy, and he wins best Alan Wake wins Best Direction, and he goes up on stage and kind of starts crying. And so
Mm.
I told our brother, whose Alan Wake is his favorite game, to me that was the best moment of the show, because it was not only
Yeah.
this guy. I was like, that was kind of the real game of the year, because we all knew Baldur's Gate was going to win Game of the Year anyway. This guy this is the game he wanted to make for 13 years, but he couldn't
Hmm.
because the first one did so bad. So now not only did he get to finally make like the game he wanted to make after 13 years or 15 years, I think, but he was also basically saying, you did this better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And so that was, I thought, like really cool. And again, he only had 30 seconds. And so
Ah.
it's like,
Timothy
yeah.
Chalamet took all his time, and nobody will tell
No,
me
actually,
otherwise.
it was so weird. Anthony Mackie did, and he did this bit. It was so, if you've got an
God, I
extra
hate those
couple of
award show
minutes,
bits. I hate it
but
so
his
much,
whole
so
bit
bad.
was like, he would like tell people to like shut up. It was really weird. I didn't get it, and part of it was like
Somewhere,
I was walking the
somewhere
dog.
a Marvel PR executive is dying, and they're just like, "No, this is our demographic. Stop telling people to shut
But
up."
it was like, but he was doing it in like a funny way. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like he was like being like a dick about it, but it was just I didn't get the bit. It was
Oh
weird. And then
god.
Simu
Well,
Liu
also,
came on and broke his ankle, and he spent like 2 minutes talking about his broken ankle.
oh god.
It's
I'm
weird.
wondering, like, granted, okay, like the writers for like the Emmys and the award shows and stuff, like they're like television writers, and I'm just like, I'm wondering who wrote these bits. Like, granted, like some of the other award show bits are super cringe, also, but I just like, did they get video game writers to write the bits?
No, no,
Like,
no, no, no. They
but
100% let whoever is going up on stage, they're writing
they
their
just
stuff.
okay, I'm gonna stop. We should open with that, because that right there, writing is a very important job. Not everybody can do it. And that right there is why they should have hired writers. They should have hired video game writers. I think, I don't think they should hire television writers. I think they should write I think they
Yeah,
should
they
hire
should get
writers
the
that write video games and that know that storytelling platform and can speak to that audience and that demographic. Because maybe I think I am gonna have to check this out, because this just sounds like a world of cringe. And
It is. And and I mean, if you skip all the trailers, it's only like half an hour.
yeah, that's part of the problem right there. Well, let's dive into our game of the week,
Hold on a sec.
because
I wanted to actually do one thing before we go into that, but then we will. So the one thing
I'm not the host. I'm the special guest, and I'm hijacking your podcast.
The one thing that you might actually care about is one of the categories at the Game Awards is Best Adaptation, and the nominees were Last of Us, Twisted Metal, Gran Turismo, Castlevania Nocturne, and the Super Mario Brothers movie. Of those 5, which
wait. It's best
adaptation.
Hold on. I don't even understand this category. What
it is
best adaptation of a video game?
Yes, to another medium.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. Why are we doing that at the video game? That's so irrelevant. Can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine if there was best video game adaptation at the Oscars or like at the Emmys? Wouldn't that be?
This is like
so wackadoodle. Like what?
Yeah. No, I know. And I think okay. Anthony Mackie, actually, this is the one he presented, and he did announce his show Twisted Metal, which is based on a video game, is getting renewed for a second season.
Yes.
And I think that's like fine. Like it wasn't like there was like a big trailer, a big deal. He's like, I just want to say like we're gonna be back, and I think that something like that is okay, and something like that is where their announcements should be.
But it's fine. Like it's fine.
But anyway, of those 5...
Okay, you're gonna have to rattle. Yeah. I was truly so confused. I was like, well, Super Mario. I was thinking video games. I'm like, well, Super Mario obviously came out before the movie. Like, what movie are they? I was like, is there some sort of Mario IP that came? It was like, I was so confused. Like, because in film it's the opposite, right? Like, best adaptation is the film that was adapted from previous IP.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, okay. Anyways, all right. So riddle back off to me, because I was so confused.
Castlevania Nocturne, which is an animated Netflix show.
I know.
Gran Turismo, the film starring Hopper and Legolas, Orlando Bloom. Twisted Metal, starring Anthony Mackie and Will
I think I already know my answer, but just in case.
The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal, and the Super Mario Brothers movie, starring Chris Pratt. What do you think won best game adaptation?
I feel like it needs to be The Last of Us, right? Like
it was The Last of Us.
Okay, right? Like there's no way, like if the way you were setting it up, I was like, if it is anything other, granted I haven't seen Castlevania, but like I was just like,
have you seen the other ones? Have you seen Twisted Metal and Gran Turismo?
No, but the audience doesn't need to know that.
That's fair. I actually did hear Twisted Metal is not bad.
I'm sure that they're not bad. I mean, the Super Mario movie was fine. Like it was fine. Like it was fine. It could have been better, I think. So that's why. But also, like, yeah. I mean, it has to be The Last of Us is like. I mean that's great television, just period.
Yeah.
But also, like, as much as I hate Timothy Chalamet, like, I think I equals in my love for Pedro Pascal. So
Yeah. Well, he wasn't.
yeah.
He was at the Game Awards last year, where
Ah, now
but
he's too busy because he's literally in everything.
yeah,
But
no,
I'm
I
not
think
mad at
so.
it. Unlike
I
Timothy Chalamet, I am not
yeah,
mad at seeing Pedro Pascal and everything.
he'll probably be back whenever the next Last of Us game, or he was, maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't know. He was there at some point, and it was actually kind of cool. They had the Joel and Ellie from the game, like the voice actors, on
Hmm.
stage with the
Oh, very
actors.
cool.
So, and stuff like that is cool, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm okay with. It's it's Simu Liu talking about his ankle, and Timothy Chalamet. Timothy Chalamet was actually better, I think, than Anthony Mackie and Simu Liu, but he also had
Ugh,
pretty
find that
easy
hard to
job.
believe, but
One more thing about Timothy Chalamet, and okay, this is going to be pretty great. I don't even know where to start with this.
oh my god.
So last year, oh god, okay, I shouldn't have even. Yeah, I'm
I
doing
don't
it. I'm
even
doing
know
it.
it.
Okay, so
Just dive
last
in. Just
year,
dive in.
where
Let's
this
go
is the
for it.
last thing, and then we'll go into Bioshock. So last year, a game called Elden Ring won, and they call up for Game of the Year. They call up the Elden Ring guys, and this kid who's probably like 16 gets up and just walks behind them. And this kid gets up on stage and is just standing in the background while the director is giving his speech about the game. And nobody said anything. Everybody was just like, oh, this kid's with them, I guess. So then the guy finishes his speech, and this kid takes the mic and starts going on a weird rant. And he says something like, I want to take this time to thank my Orthodox pastor, Bill Clinton, or something. It was something bizarre and weird like that.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately, like, they like shut it down and they got that kid off, which is already like bad. Like, how could you let a random kid onto the Game Awards stage? But whatever. But so this year I'm like watching at the end because I'm like, I wonder if something wild like that is going to happen again this year. And I see in the background the Bill Clinton kid. I'm like, holy shit, he got on stage again. But then I realized it was just Timothy
Timothy
Chalamet
Chalamet. Oh
just
my
standing in
god.
the background. But yeah, so if you want,
I don't know why that's giving Audrey Plaza. It was like the MTV Movie Awards or something that year when she like hijacked the microphone from Will Ferrell. Do you
it was
like
like that. It was like that, but instead of like somebody like well known
yeah,
and who belonged there, it was some random kid.
completely random. Oh my
Yeah, just
god.
type in like Bill Clinton Game Awards. But all right, but that's all we're gonna talk
Moving
about.
on.
The Game Awards. Hopefully next year they do it a little better, but I honestly think that they're probably just going to double down and we'll get the Last of Us 3 trailer announced.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go into our game of the week, which is Bioshock.
Woo woo.
A video game that you did play. So
I was gonna say this is a game that 110% I did play.
you did. You played all 3 of them, but we're just going to be talking
I
about the
did.
first one today. So, kind of what we do around here is we start by just saying something we like, something we don't like, who we'd recommend it to. Just like very quickly, very briefly, no spoilers or anything like that. So go.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin with BioShock when you're like, oh, something you like, something you don't like. And I'm like, no notes, it's perfection. I love it.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of, so BioShock is one of the first games that I could actually get into as somebody that is like not a gamer. I grew up with you guys playing games and I would sit and watch. But for me, having to control a person through a space that I am not physically present in. I don't know, the like hand-eye coordination just isn't there for me. But I think for like in regards to BioShock, the thing that I love about it is the world building, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like it wouldn't even say BioShock on it. You would see a little metal plate that looks like half Art Deco, half like almost like 1940s 50s sci-fi that's wet and you know it's BioShock.
Yeah. No,
Like
you're not wrong.
it's a very specific, it's so, the world is so specific. Well, I mean, granted, third game aside, we're just not going to talk about that because I got feelings on that one. But the like first BioShock, I mean, it really was a completely different world, and the way that they blended different art styles with like the Art Deco and this like 60s 50s sci-fi kind of like new tech, I think is just, I was just obsessed. But maybe I'm biased. My wedding is also Art Deco themed, so that could be just the art spoke to
Is it
me.
Art Deco themed or is it Bioshock themed?
It's Bioshock themed, but we didn't think everyone would know that,
Would
so we
get
didn't
it,
put
so
that on the
you're just
invitation.
telling people it was. That's smart.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so kind of for me, I think the atmosphere,
Yeah.
like it's just very oppressive.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, you can see like this like remnants of this great society. Something I
Yeah.
don't like, the way like the like checkpoint system is set up is kind of weird, where it's like there's no penalty for dying or anything. You kind of just like get tossed into like a little tube, and so if you're fighting like one of like the big enemies and you're kind of stuck on them, you're kind of just going to keep getting like rammed until you just slowly chip away at him enough to make him die.
Yeah, like, and also I totally agree with that, because you know me, like I will play chicken with a gas tank or whatever. So I'd be like rolling into the big boss like like 10%
You're like, I
life
got
left.
this.
Yeah, and I would just keep dying and resetting and starting over at 10% life and like go and die like it was a really weird, like that happened a few times in the game, I feel like, for me, like where it would reset me exactly where I was. There really was no penalty, because I probably would have played differently if there was, but there wasn't.
Yeah,
So I was like,
100%. I had no fear of anything. I was like, worst case scenario, I'll just get in that little tube and I'll be fine.
Yeah, you just tubed right out.
And then, but I would recommend this, I think, to people who like first person shooters and kind of spooky games, because it is pretty spooky. But also,
it's definitely spooky, yeah.
I think games, or people who like a lot of like you said, kind of like lore and background in their games. So with all that said, we are going to
Wait,
go.
I didn't say who I would tell
who would you
play
recommend it to?
Anybody.
Okay, that was glad we got that covered.
I would. I think that the reason why
you're
it
not
was
wrong.
You see? Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's an easy game to pick up.
It's a very easy game to pick up. So that's why I would recommend it to somebody that is not super familiar with video games, because the story is, I mean, the art is amazing and it's very immersive and the story is fantastic. And so I think that if you're somebody that doesn't play video games a lot and you have like a certain expectation, that you can't play it, and the no penalties to death thing. So it does make it easier for somebody that isn't familiar with kind of like a video game landscape. It's a good entry level shooter game, I think.
Yeah, no, I actually think you're right. Okay, so with all that said, we are going to go into full spoilers, because this is a game that you can't really talk about without talking about kind of its big twist at the end.
Oh, now spoilers are allowed.
Spoilers are allowed now. So if you
spoiler zone, can you get a sound effect that's like woo woo woo?
That would actually be a good idea.
Yeah, that way people fast forward through it.
Noah originally said we should get sound effects if games make it on the list or if they don't, and I was like, that's a good idea. Good. I might have to figure that out. There is like a little soundboard thing, but like right now it's not working. So
well, you just let me know what you need and I'll do the sound effects.
Okay. I'll do that.
And then I should just
get a soundboard. I should just get one that's not tied to this software, so that it might actually work right.
No, just get a soundboard of me.
Oh.
And this is why you have not let me on the podcast.
Yeah. No, but spoilers starting now. If you for some reason haven't played a game from like 15 years ago, go do it, and then you can come back here.
Yeah, if you have not played Bioshock, what is wrong with you? If you are a video gamer enough to listen to a video game podcast by two randos and me, then you've played Bioshock.
Or you're a child.
Or you are a child. Oh, apologies to the children of the youth that listen.
The youth, yeah. We have to make sure that the youth are,
That the youth are good.
Yeah. So I guess we can kind of go dive deep into this one. Mm-hmm. Where do you want to start?
I mean, it's your podcast, man. Where do you even begin with Bioshock?
I think the big thing to discuss is kind of the twist at the end. So
there's a twist. There's twists all around.
but the big twist is at the end.
Okay, I don't know what twist you're talking about, but I feel like the big twist. Oh
Well,
shoot, no,
actually,
that one. Hold on, there's a
I was
couple
gonna say, actually,
twists.
I was actually gonna say, as somebody who's kind of more obviously more into video games, there is like when people talk about Bioshock, they do talk about the twist. As somebody who is not into video games and probably doesn't really talk about Bioshock to anybody,
I
what
there is
twists were
nobody.
you what twists were you thinking of?
I don't want to talk about it anymore because I know that I think about it's like, remember that time you're gonna get on the submarine and you think you're gonna get on it and then it gets exploded and you can't get on the submarine anymore? Remember that
Oh, like
part?
that thing that happens in like every movie and game.
Yeah, but like when you work so hard to get on the submarine and you collected like all the things you needed to collect and you like also were like looking out for the like little sisters and you battled all the big daddies and you go to get on the submarine and it gets exploded in front of your eyes and you're like excuse me, rude. And then the guy is in your ear like sorry, the like rebels blew it up. I mean, that's emotionally damaging. Do you
Okay,
know
so
what part I'm
that's
talking about?
I think I do. So
Did
that
you
is
like for some reason I was really shook, but there's also something else that happens around that part too that
so that's yeah, so you just said obviously the big twist everybody obviously talks about.
yes.
The second big twist is at the end of the game when you
Yes,
find
I
out
remember
the
that one.
guy who has been giving you your missions is basically brain controlling you, where you were
Yes.
implanted with a chip so that if he says "Would you kindly,"
Yes.
you do have to do what he says, which is
That that twist also second to the
that's
submarine.
the second to the submarine. And I think part of the
Yes.
reason that twist is so cool is because you can't see it. You can't see it coming because it is something like that is such a unique way of blending. Something like that is something like the video game. It could only work in a video game where to
Yeah.
proceed to the next section, you do have to do what the guy says. And
Yeah.
you've played hundreds of video games where that's just what you do. And so you don't think
Yeah.
anything of it. So then when all of a sudden he says, like, would you kindly beat yourself with a crowbar? You're
Mhm.
like, oh shit, I don't want to do that. But
Mhm.
your guy has to.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, that's what I think of as the big Bioshock twist.
Well, especially for like POV games, right? Because like it wouldn't be I don't think it would be anywhere near as like
Impactful.
impactful if it wasn't. If you were playing, you know, like if it was like a Tomb Raider or something, right? Where like Laura Croft you're moving around and like it's not POV, like then I just think that it's the fact that you are essentially this character and you feel you've been operating of your own free will, especially free will in the sense of like you put the game in and you decide you're going to play it. And then at the end, it's like, oh shit, the fuck?
Yeah.
So
No,
that's kind of
I
like the,
yeah, because
yeah.
the main guy that you play as is such like a blank slate. Like his name is
Hmm.
Jack, and that's all you know about him. And you're right.
Yeah.
So you do the player does kind of end up embodying
Hmm.
Jack. Um which I feel like that's only his name because they were like, "Hey, we're about to ship this game, and he doesn't have a name." It's like, "Oh shit, let's just name him Jack Bioshock."
Like there has to be some weird rule somewhere when you have a male character that you want the people to feel is like a strong lead, you name him Jack. It's I mean that's got to be the most popular storytelling name.
Yeah, Jack or John.
Oh, John, yeah. John's another one.
John's another
John
one.
is yeah, you got like a John Reacher and
That's
yeah.
actually a Jack Reacher.
Oh, dude, it's so interchangeable. It's so interchangeable. You're right. It is. Oh, that's hilarious.
That was
That
pretty
I
good.
mean, yeah, that is perfect. That I mean, they nailed it, right? You don't even question it anymore. Either one would
It's
have
all just
worked.
blur. So yeah,
Yeah, it does.
just J.
Just a lot of semi-attractive white dudes running around with names that start with J, blowing shit up.
Like, oh gosh.
Well, because I think it's also played by John Krasinski, like so it's even more confusing.
I think you're right.
Jack Reacher, the not in the new Amazon series.
No, you're right.
Is it?
I'm trying to
Yeah.
yeah, because there's I always get that one and Jack Ryan mixed up because there's Jack Reacher and
Reacher
Jack
and Jack
Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah.
And you're right. Krasinski is
John Krasinski is playing
John Krasinski
John
plays Jack Reacher.
Reacher.
And just out of curiosity, who plays Jack Ryan? Oh no, Jack Ryan
Okay.
is John Krasinski. Jack Reacher is Alan Ritchson.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I always get those mixed up. I know who they both.
Yeah, that one's easy.
Yeah.
To
Anyway.
confuse. Okay. Anyways,
back to Bioshock. So yeah, I think you're right. The player does kind of end up embodying the main lead, and so yeah, that you're right. That moment would not work anywhere near as well if it did happen in third person.
Yeah.
And again, it is such like a good twist. It's a twist that could only happen in a video game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it could happen in like a film, but it's not the same because you're not playing.
Exactly.
You're watching. That's why it's like you were carrying it out this whole time, assuming you were acting of your free will, just like the character. And to find out you're not is really wild. Well, the whole game is very weird. Like you never know who you can trust, right? Like you're listening to these recordings, and the whole time you're like, I don't know if this person is descending into madness and what they're telling me is like accurate information, or if you never know
like
if this is trustworthy or not. Like with the entire game, you don't know who you can trust, but you know who you can trust? The one guy that's looked out for you this entire time. And then at the end, you're like, well, damn, I trusted the wrong person.
I guess not. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. And the twist just works so well on so many different levels. Like you said, he's kind of the one. He's your only ally in the game. Everybody else has already kind of succumbed to the poisoning from the plasmids, but not him. He's like, we're going to get you out of here, buddy. And then he's like, psych.
Which honestly probably should have been your first inkling something was wrong, because who is like, hey man, you're a stranger, but I'm totally gonna put my life on line and help you out.
Yeah, but again, in the context of a video game, you're like, well, you've got to have somebody to kind of give you missions, and it was just so you're
Splinter.
Yeah. He just
every video game needs a Splinter,
like Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
okay. I just wasn't sure if there was like another Splinter that I wasn't thinking of. But
no, right? Because Splinter's always there to help guide the Ninja Turtles.
That is true. He's always there.
See? Or Zordon.
Have all four of
Zordon?
them.
Zordon. Power Rangers?
Yeah.
See?
Zordon I think works better than Splinter because he's a 2, like Bioshock. But yeah, so that's, I think the story's pretty good, especially for a first-person shooter where you don't have, too much. But I think another thing this game does that's probably people take for granted now is how you can interact with the environment. You've got like your little elemental abilities, fire, electricity. And this was kind of the first game where you could, like, if an enemy was standing in a puddle of water and you just shocked the puddle, they would die. And same with like oil, like you could light oil on fire. And it was really cool how you could kind of use how the abilities that you had in the game were not limited to just what they actually did. It was much more open in how you could like approach combat. Like, oh, I want to do this, or I think I can do this. And most of the time the game would let you do it. And stuff like that has only gotten better as time has gone on, but it probably wouldn't be where it's at now without Bioshock.
Yeah, well, especially for a shooter game, I feel like too, because a lot of the times it's like you are limited in terms of what like essential weapon you can use. Like you have an option of weapons, but like in a shooter game, it's like you also had the plasmids too, right? So that was a whole other element to this like shooter style game.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, cool, I got a machine gun, now I can shoot fast. It's like, oh,
exactly,
the plasmids were more exciting.
I can use the world around me to wreak havoc.
Yeah. I think, and because at the end of the day, like the shooting is just like, there's games that feel a little better to shoot, but there's not really any that I think combine kind of that, like that feeling of kind of like that unique feeling of the plasmids with the normal guns and stuff. It's a really cool combination.
Yeah, it is.
And then I think there's only really one other thing that I want to talk about, but was there anything you kind of wanted to talk about before we wrap?
Okay.
What are
So
you going
specific.
for?
So specific. Um, but the sound effects in this like the sound design
The
of the
sound is really
game.
good.
Like, I mean, when you bought a plasmid or whatever, right? Like you could hear the
The
cling. It was
ching.
like, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
still,
And
well,
the
even just like the circus,
ta-na-na-na.
yeah, I still think
Yeah.
of the Circus of Value guy.
Yeah,
Welcome to the
to the
Circus of
circus of
Value.
value. Yeah, it's like it's so specific. I mean, how many video games where you purchase something and there is a change noise, but like this one is so specific. You can still hear I mean, even the like walking down the hallway and hearing the like, I don't know, man in the rabbit hat or
Oh
whatever. It'd
yeah,
be
well,
like,
even just like them dragging their weapons along the ground,
yeah,
or like them
or the
like
walls and like,
screaming, and like
yeah.
it just spending time there is enough to like get under your skin.
Yeah, and the again, like the immersiveness of it is like every room you walked into was, I mean, you're like in these huge theaters, you're in these huge lounges that
Yeah.
are like got three story tall glass windows to the ocean. And I'm like, how easy, how much easier would it have been for those like graphic artists and stuff to literally just be like, we're gonna put a wall here and do
Yeah.
like an art deco design, and it's literally just gonna be the same, like, like a pattern, the art
Yeah.
deco pattern wall. But like someone was like, nah, let's do ocean, and we're gonna have some fish swimming outside the ocean. What kind of fish you want? I want about 17 different kinds. Maybe we could do like a school of fish. I need a whale at a certain point. It's like it really is this
And I
world.
want all the open tubes.
Yeah, and all the open tubes, they need to be translucent. It really was just a game that left no stone unturned in terms of the story was so well defined and so clear. The rules of this world were so well defined and so clear. And I think that like every different like aspect you were able to like, because it's not really levels, right? But like essentially every different
There's
level
they're
was,
kind of levels. Like
there's kind of levels, but there were like different, it's more like different, like when you're in like the garden air zone, basically.
zone
That
is a
is,
good word. It's
yeah,
more of a
different
zone.
zones.
Yeah.
Like the garden zone had a very different vibe than the hospital, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like you had all the like every time you thought you had maxed out in terms of like the experience or the world building or whatever, you were then sent to a different zone where they did the exact same thing, just
Yeah.
like
No,
in a
it
different with a
really,
different theme. And so I just always really appreciated that. And as somebody that works in storytelling, I just think that it is one of the most well written and most intricate stories in a video game.
yeah, it's definitely up there.
Hmm.
And like you said, the world they built, like kind of like what you said when you talked about, yeah, how they built this incredible world, and the zones play into that because each one
Hmm.
is, it really feels like you are exploring the society that did fall. It's not just like,
Yeah.
and then Sonic went to the ice place. It's like, oh no, now you're in like the theater, and now you're in like the
Yeah.
financial district or whatever, and it's
Exactly, because it
really
all made
cool.
sense. It
Yeah,
it
this
it
was a
wasn't
this was a society at one point.
exactly. It all like completely made sense. It all was like checked out. And also the fact that we can be talking this long about Bioshock and not even mention like the little sister saving and how that
Yeah,
changes your outcome and
that
stuff.
was like
Like,
when I said there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. That's what it was.
oh, well, yeah, because it's like, I mean,
Good segue.
yeah, no, it's almost like I had your notes in front of me. But
Do you?
it's almost like we're related or something. That's
Oh,
so
I was gonna
crazy.
say I don't remember sharing that document
No,
with
you
you.
you didn't. You didn't know.
I
It's
was like, wait, what?
no, I'm just your older sister.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, like, um, I feel like in a lot of other games that maybe didn't have all of this other stuff, that would have been their like golden ticket
Yeah, the
of like
choice, like,
excitement. Yeah, that would have been the brand identity of BioShock was the freedom of choice, which is then also super ironic that you never had any to begin with, right? Like,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. And again, goes into like that plot twist and that storytelling of like kind of just flipping everything that you thought you knew over the last hours of gameplay on its head. But yeah, I mean, I have to ask though, Simon, like, did you save the little sisters or did you not even fuck with them? Did
I
you let them perish?
I think I did, because if I remember, because you got like a better ending if you saved them.
Yeah,
The
there's
game kept
three
like a
different endings.
running, yeah, the game kept like a running tally
Yeah,
of your decision.
yeah.
Um and yeah, I think if you saved them, you got the better ending. So I did save them because I wanted the better ending. Um and it was kind of like, I wish that the decision was almost a little bit more difficult. Like,
Mm,
they gave you slightly better rewards if you did like harvest them or whatever, but it
yeah,
wasn't like that much better to where I felt like I missed out. And that's probably my biggest
yeah,
complaint to the game, is like it was pretty easy to just say, like, unless you just wanted to be like a monster, like there wasn't a huge incentive to harvesting that.
yeah. Well, and I remember also at the time that, like, I mean, and this was at the time the game came out. I remember you explaining to me that this feeling around the game too was like you haven't really had that in a game before where you're dealing with like almost like a consequence to your actions, like because you're like, if you're
Yeah,
playing like GTA, like there's no consequences really to like your actions, and so this is the first time where you can kind of
it
choose if you
was.
like want like the game had a weird morality to it,
Well, and
which
it's,
was
oh,
interesting for a video game.
yeah, and it's funny that you brought up like, oh, the decision making, that would be like a game's like kind of like brand identity, because Bioshock
Hmm.
kind of did. That's what it was. That was sort of its brand identity in like the marketing leading up to
Hmm.
release, and then after that, it's now obviously that's not what it's known for. But you can't talk about.
Hmm.
And then we have a really good twist about seven,
Yeah.
3/4 of the way through the
Yeah.
game.
They're like, really,
Uh,
guys, play it, and then you'll thank us that you did.
but yeah, so there wasn't really a game that, there were some games that kind of gave you choices, but those were always what the whole game was built around. It was like kind of big like RPGs.
Hmm.
Not never a game that was like a shooter that was, I mean, kind of like a survival horror, because you do have to
Yeah.
like manage ammo and stuff. So
Hmm.
um yeah, and I again, kind of a one last thing I wanted to bring up, just because I think this is funny. Do you remember how you found out about Bioshock?
No, I mean,
Because I do.
I just assumed you guys told me about it. I mean,
No.
that's how I remember it. I totally
No.
remember you guys like telling me about it.
Nope, that's not what happened at
Oh
all.
God. Oh
I mean,
no.
it's not bad. So, I was just like sitting in my room playing something, and you came in, and you were
Oh
like,
God.
"Hey, have you heard of a video game called Bioshock?" And I said, "Yeah, it's really good." And you said, "You have it?" And I said, "Yes." And you said, "Can I play it?" And I said, "Why?"
Why?
And you
So
said, "I
I
saw a commercial for the second one, and it looked really cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't care." And so then you played it and you loved it, and then like a week later, the second one came out, and the second one came out like around my birthday. So you got
yeah.
me the second one for my birthday. I think mostly so you could play the second one.
Oh, 110%. If that's not oldest sister energy, I don't know what it is.
But yeah, I don't know where you saw the
And
commercial,
I
but you
probably
just
thought I
straight
was,
up,
yeah.
you just walked in my room and you were like, "Hey, have you heard of Bioshock?" And I was like, "How have you heard of Bioshock?" Because this was like 2 or 3 years after it had come out, because it was when the second one was coming out.
I really thought this story was gonna go where I heard a guy talking about it and I wanted to play like
Some
low
random
key.
dude was like, "And then there's girls, and you can either kill them or save them."
No, no, like more of like like I was thinking like some guy I had a crush on was like talking to a friend about Bioshock. I was like, that's
Oh,
my way in.
I
Like
mean, maybe
I
that's what it
will.
was, but you didn't tell me that. You told me
No,
you saw a
no,
commercial.
it wasn't because that story's not tracking at all. I signed up for speech and debate to impress a guy, but he didn't play video games, so that's why I'm like, well, this story isn't tracking at all for me. But no, the I remember the commercial now that you say it because it was I didn't realize it was the second game, but I'm pretty sure it was a commercial where it's like It's like that weird haunting. It's a haunting version of Somewhere Beyond the Sea.
Oh, then that is from the first one, I think. Then where maybe you just saw like an ad for a YouTube video or something, or who knows? But yeah, it
Maybe
was
I
around the time the
saw,
second one came out.
yeah, because that I feel like that's the commercial that I saw, but I don't know where I would have seen. I have no idea where I would have seen it, but that I do remember the ad now that you mention it making like a super big impact on me because, but it just checked all
It
my
well,
boxes.
it was a really good ad too. I know which one you're talking about, and it started and it's all bright and sunny and happy, and then it
Yeah,
dives like, and it's like it's like very peaceful, and then it just dives below like the
yes, below the surface, and you're like
and
getting
it's like
close, and it
and it
like
gets like
lights up.
worse and worse, like, and it's
Yeah,
just like it then kind of it gets like more and more pressing as you get closer to the city. So yeah,
yeah. But
I
also going into sound design for the game, like I remember the reason I was so like drawn to that commercial was because of the whatever song they used in the commercial. Like it was this haunting version of these old like, and they did that throughout the game, right? They had these
yeah
really like the dream a little dream of me, and like they had Somewhere Beyond the Sea, like these old like classics that they just made in this really like unsettling. It was like nostalgic
yeah,
and
it's like
unsettling all at the
instantly.
same time.
Yeah, it's like they were just like recognizable enough to be like
Yeah,
really
to be
like,
like comforting,
but then like they were
but
just off enough to where it was like, no,
it's
this
not
feels
normal.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why like that it was the sound. But I also I like I said, I love Art Deco and I love like 1930s, 1940s. Like I love the music and everything. And so I remember just being like totally like obsessed with like the the music of the commercial, and then I found out it was a video game. And there was something that spoke to like the eeriness of it, like because I love thrillers too. And so I was like, I'm sorry. If I can only get this story by playing through levels, I will do it. And yeah, I have not played another video game since then that had the chokehold on me like Bioshock. So
Yeah.
that's why if I had 100 top 100 games list, which I don't, but it definitely is the top of my top three,
Yeah.
which is probably how many
It's
video
just
games
like
I've played.
Bioshock, Alan Wake, and you played like an Uncharted, didn't you?
I played Uncharted, Alan Wake, Bioshock, Luigi's Mansion. I played a lot of the Super Mario Party.
And Sims. Played a lot of Sims.
Oh God, I played so much Sims. And what was the other one with the where you have a theme park? Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Oh, you did play a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon. Okay.
OG Roller Coaster Tycoon. So, I made my way around.
Yeah.
I hit the popular spots.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Roller Coaster Tycoon and Sims. Um, yeah, I think Bioshock makes it on the list pretty easily. I'm going to put it at, I'm just going to stick it right in the middle. I'm going to put it at 50 for right now. Because
Okay, hold on. Do you get to debate on this podcast about this? Because that is so low. It's seriously not in your
okay,
top 10 even?
generally,
Top 10. Not even top
Bioshock,
10?
I love Bioshock. I don't
Yeah.
think Bioshock's in my top 10.
What is okay, hold on. First of all, give me your top 10 then, because I want to play them. If you're telling me Bioshock is middle of the pack,
I think it
I
might
feel
be.
like
I can give you a list.
wrestling. I would like a list. I would like a list, and I'm gonna play it, and then I'm gonna tell you all the ways you're wrong.
Go for it. If you can, tell you what, if you can fill out a list here, I always think, I don't know why, there was like this tweet that I saw like a long time ago,
Mhm.
and it was like a guy who watches his second movie after only having seen Boss Baby, and it's like, I'm getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes from this movie. That's you with Bioshock. You're like, yeah, I've only played Bioshock, but like, how is it not number one?
Okay, I have only played Bioshock, but I have watched you play probably over 100 games. Between you and Noah, I have watched you play over 100 games. And while I haven't sat through them all, I also played the game that you were shocked I played with Noah,
Which one?
Elysium. Elysium, wasn't that what? No, it was the one with the guy and he's concussed. And the art design for the game is really kind of like I don't want to say abstract, but it's definitely not like traditional video game.
He's
Like
concussed.
he wakes up. Oh God, okay. Noah would totally know.
He would.
It was a very super weird game, like an indie indie game, and your character
Oh, is
doesn't
it
know
like
who he is.
15 minutes or whatever?
The game
Does
is
does
like 15 minutes of
no,
gameplay.
like that's the name of the game. It's like it
No,
loops.
it was like Elysia. No, and you pick out your strengths. I mean, okay, you do that with every video game, but like you pick out if you want to be intellect level or like charisma or like it was like these different things. And I thought it was like Elysium or something like that, or like something. It was two words. Oh my God. Okay, well, I'm not gonna make
You keep
people
saying
listen to this,
you're
but
saying Elysium.
I
Elysium is
know.
the movie with Matt Damon.
I know it is. But no. Okay, and it looks like watercolor. It looks like watercolor. It's like an indie, and Noah was playing it about 2 years ago, and I came home and you were like, I'm just surprised you're playing this. And I was like, it's really interesting. He would know. It
He
doesn't
would.
matter.
I'll ask
He would
him.
know. Ask him
Uh,
and then let the people know which game I'm thinking about.
I
It
will. I'll
wasn't
do that.
it looked like watercolor. The
It's
gameplay
bugging
was
me.
weird. I mean, you once you know, you'll know. Also,
Yeah.
I played Maneater.
Oh, Maneater's so good.
So, yeah, where's Maneater on your list? Well, I'll let
Maneater's
you do
not
that.
on Maneater's not on the list yet,
It's
but
not
Maneater is really
you
good.
guys, well, when that you should have me on for that one. I can
We'll
speak to that too.
but normally
Disco
we do.
Elysium. Is that a game?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. You're
Disco
right.
Elysium, is that a game?
Yes, 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 yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay, that's it. I'm not.
You were right. It was Elysium. I don't know why
Told you.
you kept saying Elysium, but I think what threw me off is when we first started talking about the podcast, and I was like, "You haven't even heard of Skyrim," and you said, "Isn't that the movie where the people live in the city in the sky when you're rich?" And I said, "No, that's Elysium with
That's
Matt Damon."
Elysium.
So then the fact that then you're like, "Oh, the game is Elysium," I'm like, "No, you're thinking
You're
of
like,
the Matt Damon movie again."
you're like,
You
go to
gotta,
bed,
you gotta
Grandpa.
stop. You gotta stop thinking about the Matt Damon movie, Gab.
Yeah. I mean, granted, that was a fair assessment of that situation because it's
Yeah.
what are the odds? Well,
Anyway, I'll debate the numbering of Bioshock with Noah. I don't know if it'll get higher. Actually, Noah, I don't think is too hot on Bioshock, so you might have to yell at him. Actually,
I will.
don't sway his opinion. I need him. Noah's like my conscience because he's so like he's able to be so unbiased about everything. Like
Yeah.
he didn't even put Alan Wake on this list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was like, it's not good, even though I love it. I'm like, are you sure we can put it on the list? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
argue because I think it's only okay.
yeah, Alan Wake wasn't bad. I mean, it was, see, like Alan Wake would be my 50, I guess, but maybe that is
See,
then, I guess,
no,
goes to
and
show you
I
if it's not
now
even
I
on
feel
the
like
list.
now I feel like I made the right choice because Alan Wake would be like in my like 100, like above 100, and so the
Yeah.
fact that you're like Alan Wake would be in my 50, I'm like, well,
Well,
Alan Wake didn't make it on the list. Bioshock's at the 50.
all right. Well, I would like to see this list.
Well, you will in about 2 years when we're done with it. Um, okay, cool. So that was Bioshock. You made it on the list. So generally, Gab, what we do is we now talk about what we've been playing, but you don't really play video games. So what, have you been watching any good movies or TV shows or anything like that?
Um, I feel like I just finished up a television show, but I, for the life of me now, cannot remember what I was watching. It was like 8 episodes. It was on Apple TV.
Was it
So I
Hijack?
remember. Yes, it was Hijack. That's right. I did tell you. Yeah, it was Hijack. And I enjoyed it.
Oh, is it
More
worth
than I
watching?
thought I would. I
Cool.
actually do think it's worth watching. It was twistier than I thought it would be because sometimes thriller television is really, really cheesy. I think personally, for some reason film lends itself to a better medium for
Well, it's
thrillers.
hard to drag out like suspense for 8 hours or
For
10
like,
hours or whatever.
yeah, like you can like I feel like with film it's like you said it's like 2 hours long, so you can kind of do like little like twists in there and stuff. Um, but with television you have so many different arcs that it's a lot. So yeah, I liked it more than I thought I would, to be honest. So Apple
Uh,
TV, that's
you
it.
should watch Silo.
That was going to be the next one that I was going
Yeah,
to watch.
Kim and I are on like episode 7 or 8, but that's been pretty good. Yeah, I've actually been when I had my surgery, I couldn't really play games, so I actually have not really been playing too many games. Just because like I had so much sinus pressure, I couldn't
Yeah.
like any sort of movement like that would have made me sick. But I have been playing Alan Wake 2 since I recovered, which I'm really enjoying. But I watched like I just got on a Star Wars kick for some reason. So I watched like all the Disney Plus like Star Wars stuff,
Oh
like
yeah.
Obi-Wan. I watched like Andor, which is
Mhm.
like such a good show. I actually watched that before my surgery, but and then I watched like Obi-Wan and I watched Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, and now I'm watching just like the cartoon when I do laundry and stuff.
Everyone keeps saying like Andor is so good. I think it was Andor,
It
but
is
then
Andor.
like
Andor is
they
the one that's.
also what's the one with the space whales?
I don't think
There's
that's. Maybe that's Andor. I
it's
don't
it's
think
the
so though.
girl, it's like what is her name? Oh, now I can't even remember the actress's name. Well, either way,
If
it
is
doesn't
it
really matter.
Rosario Dawson?
Yes, it is. Rosario
No,
Dawson,
that's
that's the one.
she's not in Andor. She's in the
Okay.
new one, Ahsoka. No,
Ahsoka,
you
yeah,
you
that's the
should.
one with space whales.
Andor is if that the only ties to Star Wars that show has is an emperor, like the Empire runs the galaxy,
Yeah.
and
Huh.
that's
Interesting.
like it is like a legitimately just like a very good drama. I actually think yeah, you would like it. But
Other
yes.
than that, my
Oh,
fiance has been watching World War II on the front lines, a documentary about World War II on Netflix. So
that sounds
it sounds
riveting.
exactly what it is what it sounds like. And no, my fiance is
And
not 80 years
yeah, I
old.
was gonna say, can you please specify that you're not like a gold digger marrying a man who is about to pass out for his money? You are dating somebody only a couple years older than yourself. He is just
Yes.
mentally and spiritually.
The body of a 30-year-old and the soul of a 130-year-old.
And isn't that what every woman wants?
I've got no complaints.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, you can plug anything you want. Noah normally plugs whatever weird thing he's into that week. Last week or last time we recorded, he said what he was thankful for Thanksgiving, but he's done IKEA and the crappy Mexican place that is on the first floor of his apartment. So you can plug whatever you want. You can plug a restaurant, or you can actually plug anything that might actually benefit you.
Uh, Unfortunately, at this time, I don't have any plugs that would benefit me. I wish that I did. Um, but what I will use my power for the greater good, and I will say, if you were looking for some of the best hot chicken in Los Angeles, and a year ago I would not have said that I was any expert on this, but we have been on a kick. Humble Bird in Los Angeles for hot chicken. I don't know where they get these magic chickens from, but they are so good. Like the chicken itself is like just good quality chicken, and the food there is bomb. And so that's what I'm gonna plug. Humble Bird chicken.
Okay,
That's it.
cool.
That's all I got.
I'll have to check it out next time I'm in LA.
You should.
Um, all right. Well, here we go. Thank you to Pecan Pie on Upbeat for our intro and outro songs. Thank you to Zach Robinson for our logo. Thank you to you, Gabrielle Esty, for our editing. If you like this podcast, please give us a follow and subscribe, and consider leaving a rating and or review so more people can find us. We still want to grow a little bit. You can find other episodes of this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. I'll probably start uploading them to YouTube at some point soon, but I haven't done that yet. If you want to send us an email and let us know if you want us to talk about the German Shepherd pups more, you can do so at gamedisc.podcast@gmail.com. You can send us questions, suggestions, or anything you want. You can find me on Twitch at Smesty, and Noah's not here, but you can find Noah in Nagoya, Japan, and we will see you all next week. Bye!